Welcome, everybody, to the GCW Plant Podcast, Episode 2. I am your host, Mystical Jericho, aka GCW's number one plant, and today we are going over Cage of Survival. The opening match of the night was a 7-way scramble for the Extreme Championship belt. The 7 competitors were Nick Wayne, Jimmy Lloyd, Jordan Oliver, Cole Radrick, Akira, Speedball Mike Bailey, and the Extreme Champion himself, AJ Gray. In my mind, this was the best scramble in GCW history. The amount of talent that they had during this scramble was amazing, with every single competitor showing why they deserve to be the Extreme Championship title holder. In my opinion, I still think this should be the scramble belt, but we talked about that last time, and we'll talk about that in future episodes. The match starts off with everyone in the ring. AJ just chops everyone out, and then he gets to Nick Wayne, and then Jordan Oliver slides back in, sacrificing himself to take the chop from AJ, so that way Nick doesn't have to take the pounding that everyone else in the match just had. This keeps on showing the improvement of Jordan Oliver and Nick Wayne's evolution as a tag team. They then get put into a dual ankle lock and a STF choke by Akira, which was pretty awesome to see. Jordan and Nick then take the advantage, and then they do a bunch of awesome tag team combinations, once again showing their evolution as a tag team. I think they got a bright future as hopefully future title holders of the GCW Tag Team Championship belts. After the combination from Jordan and Nick Wayne, this triggers like 2 minutes of just pure insanity with every wrestler getting their stuff in, the crowd just getting into it, screaming and yelling, and the match ends with AJ Gray lariating Speedball Mike Bailey's head off to retain the Extreme Championship belt. The crowd started off chanting, "This was best scramble ever." I think they were chanting like best scramble ever, which was very awesome to hear from the AC crowd. Next match of the night, we have Lufisto going against Masha Slamovich. It was a great back and forth match. Lufisto proved why she could still go, and Masha continues to improve and show everyone why she's the next evolution of women's wrestling and picking up the victory over Lufisto. Next up, we have tag team action with Iron Beast consisting of Shane Mercer and KTB. Welcome back, KTB. Going against SGC, this variation of Matthew Justice and Mance Warner. When they come out to the ring, SGC just takes down the entranceway, which is pretty funny because they just don't give a fuck during their entrances with Pantera Walk. They just light the place up. I love also seeing Iron Beast teaming together. Welcome back, KTB. Those two, when they're in the ring together, I love seeing them showing off their agility, strength, and creativity with the moves that they do in the ring. It's just awesome seeing them do it. Love it when they do it in tag matches. I love it when they do it in death matches. The match starts off with pretty much Iron Beast just tossing Mance Warner and Matthew Justice around. I remember KG, I think, made a comment of Iron Beast just passing around Mance Warner like a blunt, which you don't see quite often because Matthew Justice and Mance Warner are pretty big boys themselves, and seeing them just getting tossed around by Iron Beast was pretty fun seeing. Near the end of the match, Iron Beast hits a double blockbuster with Shane Mercer holding up Mance Warner and Justice, one on each shoulder, and KTB flipping off the rope and hitting the double blockbuster onto both of them, onto a chair, by the way, which was pretty crazy and ironic to have out there. I just want to say, if Alex Colon is the king of light tubes, Iron Beast has to be the king of doors, and SGC are the kings of chairs. The way they use those weapons is just chaotic and creative and fun to watch. I love it when those two teams, Iron Beast using the doors and tables, and I love watching SGC just beat the shit out of everybody with the chairs. Very awesome to see. The match ended with SGC hitting a superplex through a door, and then Justice diving off the top rope and collecting the victory for SGC. Next match of the night, we have Sawyer Wreck going against Joey Janela. It was a fun back and forth match. Joey made Sawyer look really good during this match. The ending was Sawyer Wreck on top of the top rope, choke slamming Joey from the top rope through a table as Sawyer Wreck almost hits her head on the chandelier because she's so damn tall. And Sawyer Wreck picking up the victory over Joey Janela. Typical Joey Janela, a lot of spot fests, a lot of theatrics, but he made Sawyer look good, just like how he does with most of his competitors. So very fun match between those two. Next up was supposed to be the matchup for the number one contender to Jon Moxley's GCW World Heavyweight title between Matt Cardona and Blake Christian. But with Matt Cardona sustaining his injury against Blake Christian at the Vegas show and tearing his bicep, he will be out of action for a while. So he comes out to cut a promo. He comes out in a wheelchair and wearing a neck brace, all for his little torn bicep injury. KG and Dave Prazak just absolutely rip him for the playing up the injury. The AC crowd just despises him like they did ever since he first debuted. He comes out recalling making his debut a year ago at the Showboat, and then coming back a month later after his debut and beating Nick Gage, which nobody in the world thought would happen, to become the Death Match King and GCW World Champion. I will be going over that match in a future episode. That might be a standalone episode because I believe that's one of the most important matches in GCW's history, as well as one of the most fun and well put together matches between all parties involved. And I will go over everything and why I think it's such a significant part in wrestling history. Matt Cardona claims he put GCW on the map that night. He carried the company for over a year. He calls Blake unsafe for injuring his arm during the dive, and he says he's getting surgery and he'll be out for about 3 to 5 months. The crowd starts chanting, "Don't come back, don't come back," which was pretty funny. The AC crowd absolutely hates Cardona. Every crowd has seemed to hate Cardona, which is, I'm a Matt Cardona fan, but I understand the hatred for him. Because of this surgery and injury, it's going to be making him miss his standalone pay-per-view, the NWA Always Ready pay-per-view. And now because of that, he also says no more Summer of Cardona Part 2. Blake then comes out, says he was a huge Cardona fan. He was one of those woo-woo broskies. He says he's sorry for injuring him, and he wants to make it up to him. He says he will lay down in the ring and let Matt win to become the number one contender for Jon Moxley's GCW World title. Matt gets all excited. He really wants it. He's hoping that Blake will hold his part. They bring down a referee. Blake lays down. Matt covers him, and then Blake kicks out at 2. Matt Cardona is like, "What the fuck?" And Blake is like, "No, it's my time now." And Chelsea ends up rolling into the ring with a chair, tries to hit Blake with the chair, ends up hitting Matt, knocks Matt out, and then Blake turns around and super kicks Chelsea out of the ring. Blake then gets ready for the super kick a la HBK and Ric Flair. He tells Matt Cardona he loves him, and then super kicks him, and then takes the 1-2-3 victory, becoming the number one contender for Jon Moxley's GCW World title. In the semi-main event, we have Segura and Rina Yamashita going against Los Macizos in a tag team fucking death match. Los Macizos of Ciclope and Medio Extremo, welcome back. It's been 4.5 years since we've seen them in a GCW ring. It was very well hyped up. I know Brett loves them. I loved seeing them at the Howl death matches when GCW first started. I thought they were awesome together. Their death match against each other, and I believe it was one of the Tournament of Survivals, was amazing. Those two are awesome. I'm glad to see them back in the GCW ring. Hopefully we'll see a lot more of them going forward, and especially like how I was raving about the GCW Tag Division earlier. I think they're going to be a major part of the Tag Team Division going forward, and hopefully start a new little era in the Tag Team Division. This was a tag team death match with a lot of international flair, with Rina and Segura bringing the Japanese death match style into it, as well as Ciclope and Medio Extremo also bringing in the Mexican deathmatch style as well, with a lot of Lucha Libre stuff. I like how they do a lot of Lucha Libre moves as well during these death matches, which is another reason why I like Segura as well. It's great seeing the Macizos back, like I said. I loved Nick Gage was on commentary for this match. I called back last time how I like to see Nick Gage doing more commentary when he's not wrestling and still being around the GCW I almost slipped up, Matt Cardona. The GCW crowd, not universe. and he just still brings the energy even when he's not wrestling. His commentary is always comedic, always spot on, and he always wants to fuck a ref up. They had Rena hits, I believe it was Medio Extremo in the light tube with the nuts, which was, I never seen anything like that. That was pretty funny. This was a great match. It just showed how, like I said, the depth and quality GCW has right now in their tag division, whether that be regular matches or tag team death matches. Ciclope then hits Segura out of the ring. Like, Segura is sitting on the outside of the ring holding some light tubes, and Ciclope runs across the ring and does like a little, not senton dive, but like a crossbody onto Segura, and they both like fall out of the ring and hit pretty hard on the ground. That was a pretty crazy spot scene. Medio Extremo drops Rena with the Rikishi driver on a bunch of light tubes for the win. This was a crazy match. This was peak GCW How territory matches. I'm very excited to see what Los Macizos bring to the tag team division and just GCW in general. I hope they come back and stay GCW for a long time. Like I said, it was a great fucking match. It reminds me of the old Hal days, and please go out of your way to watch this. This was top 3 matches of the weekend, in my opinion. On to our main event of the evening, Cage of Survival, with Alex Colon going against John Wayne Murdoch for the UV Ultraviolent GCW title. This cage looks crazy. It has a scaffold on top. One side is all barbed wire. There's a bunch of light tube structures on the outside of the ring. On 1/4 of the ring, they bring the cage kind of down, and they have a bunch of glass and barbed wire on that as well. It was a pretty crazy looking cage. It took a long time to set up, and I could see why, but it was definitely worth it. Alex Colon and John Wayne Murdoch killed it during this match. The match starts off with Alex Colon immediately climbing up to the top of the scaffold, waving John Wayne Murdoch up. John Wayne Murdoch meets him up there. Alex Colon headbutts John Wayne, which then he immediately regrets getting up there, so he tries to climb back down to the outside. Alex Colon chases after him. And as Alex Colon is chasing after him, John Wayne Murdoch seems to like slip and fall off the cage, but on his way down, he grabs Alex Colon by the jersey just enough to make him lose his balance, and then Alex goes crashing through one of those light tube structures on the outside. Later on in the match, John Wayne Murdoch backdrops Alex Colon on that piece of the cage that was not fully built and connected to the top. It was kind of laying down on the outside that had all the glass light tubes and the barbed wire as well. Alex Colon takes the backdrop, lands on the cage, breaks the glass on the barbed wire. Then the cage actually collapses, causing Alex Colon to take another bump on the ground, which was pretty sick as well. They both then later climb back to the top of the scaffold. Murdoch hits his little rolling DDT that he does at the top. And then at the top, I didn't notice there was glass not connected to the scaffold, but like towards the middle of the ring. So they kind of had to jump off the scaffold. They went through the glass up top and then fell through a door in the middle of the ring as well on the landing. Alex Colon kicks out. John Wayne Murdoch then positions Alex underneath a glass pane in the ring. John Wayne Murdoch climbs up to the top. Alex Colon gets free and climbs up the scaffold towards the middle. Murdoch tries to catch him and beat him up before he gets to the top. Colon ends up grabbing Murdoch by the shirt and tosses him off the scaffold through the glass pane that was in the middle that was above Alex that he crawled out underneath. And then he puts a bunch of tubes onto John Wayne Murdoch. Alex Colon climbs to the top of the scaffold and hits this crazy double stomp at the top, or from the top of the scaffold onto Murdoch in the middle of the ring. Murdoch kicks out at 1. The crowd goes crazy. Murdoch is flipping off the fans, saying F you. Colon catches him and then immediately puts him in the camel clutch and wins. And he wins the Cage of Survival, and he is now the new ultra-violent GCW champion. At the end of the match, both men shake hands. Colon gives John Wayne Murdoch his due. John Wayne Murdoch picks the belt up, gives it to Colon, and he says, like, I think he said, like, hey, that's all I asked for was for your respect during all this rivalry. Alex Colon gives the respect to him, shakes his hand, and hopefully this is the end of this rivalry and both guys could go on to something new. But it was a crazy, crazy Cage of Survival match. Nice ending to that crazy rivalry, and we'll see what's next for John Wayne Murdoch. We'll see what's next for Alex Colon and what's next for the Ultraviolet Championship. I just want to quickly go over tonight's GCW You Wouldn't Understand event coming from New York City at the Melrose Ballroom. We got a scramble match of Jack Cartwheel, Cole Radrick, Alec Price, Jordan Oliver, Blake Christian, and John Wayne Murdoch. They got a lot of different ways they could use this match. I'm pretty sure they're going to do something with Jordan and Blake since they got a big match tomorrow going on. John Wayne Murdoch, who knows where he goes from here. Maybe he starts winning some of these scramble matches. Maybe he starts a feud with Cole Radrick during this as well, help build Radrick up. A lot of different ways they could go with this scramble match. Very much looking forward to it. Then we got Charles Mason, that dirty rat bastard, as Nasty Leroy would say, going against Spider Nate Webb. Interested to see if they bring Wheatus out for his introductions as they have done in the past in New York City, and if Charles Mason will go after the lead singer of Wheatus or not. Then we have 187 Homicide making his return to GCW, going against another New York legend in Grim Reaper. That ought to be a pretty good match. Then we got six-way tag match of Gringo Loco, ASF, and Drago Kid going against the the SAT with the Los Maximos. Nice to see the SAT back in GCW again. Once again, adding to that depth that GCW can create in their tag division. Then we got Joey Janela going against the 73-year-old. I forgot how old he is, but he's in his 70s, Mike Jackson. Joey Janela, see if he could put on another classic match with another legend and keep his little streak of great matches continuing on. Then we have another six-way tag match of Los Macizos teaming up with Jimmy Lloyd, going against the Second Gear crew of Matthew Justice, Manson Warner, and the one called Manders. I'd like to see them build up here with Los Macizos going against SGC, going back to that tag team storylines I've been kind of going over this episode. A lot of stuff they could do with that. Then we got Masha Slamovich going against Marco Stunt. I believe Marco Stunt, this is his first match since Hammerstein, I believe. But Masha Slamovich, seeing if she could continue her role in GCW after her big win against Lufisto a couple weeks ago. Then we got Jack Evans, which I believe is making his GCW debut, going against the returning Ninja Mac. Ninja Mac killed it in Noah. Go check out all those crazy clips and matches. They love him out there in Japan. Glad to have Ninja Mac back here, but glad to see he's getting recognition worldwide. And then the main event of the night, GCW's original Tony Deppen going against the GCW World Champion Jon Moxley. I love Mox. I love him. But if he's not going to be here to defend the belt almost every single show, or at least show up, doesn't even have to defend it every time, but just show up more often GCW, I am rooting for Tony Deppen to win this match. He has very much earned it. He's earned this opportunity. The GCW fans have been kind of wanting the belt to be defended or represented more frequently on GCW programming. Hopefully Tony Deppen will take the belt from Moxley, and now we could have the GCW title back where it belongs, back home with Tony Deppen. That is going to wrap it up for GCW Plant Podcast, Episode 2. Thank you all for checking out the first episode last week, leaving some feedback. I have now uploaded just an audio version onto YouTube as well at GCW Plant Podcast. So if you want to search it up on YouTube, you can get it that way as well. Don't be afraid to leave comments, positive, negative. I will take any feedback. I'm looking to improve this podcast. I am making some improvements coming up in these next couple episodes with some different graphics. We're going to be adding some video. I will be having a couple different guests come on as well, coming from the GCW universe. Damn you, Matt Cardona. The GCW fan base, as I like to call them, my plants, or GCW's plants. We're going to have some plants on here as well, talking GCW, previewing shows, reviewing what's going on, watching classic shows from past GCW events as well. We have a lot more in store. We will continue this ride on the GCW podcast. We are going to improve every single episode, so please check it out either on my Twitter or at YouTube. And like I said, please leave comments, good, bad, anything you want to see done differently on the show. I am down for improvements and feedback. You all have yourselves a good night. Don't forget to check me out on Twitter at Mystical Jericho and on YouTube at GCW Plant Podcast. You all have yourselves a good night. Enjoyed You Wouldn't Understand tonight, and I will see you all again next week. You guys have yourselves a good night.